Hi guys, welcome back to Dubventures. My name's Tom and my partner Brooke, who is asleep at the moment because she's been working night shift. We have a camper van and we have a little doggy called Thor, a little fur baby. Put a picture up here of them. Now, we travel a lot in our camper van. Now, as many as you know, if you follow us, we take Thor everywhere with us. And every time we go on a campsite, when we go travelling on day trips and things like that, when we use the camper van, Thor is always with us. Now, we've been asked lots and lots of questions recently about when we go to campsites and things, about, you know, different questions relating to Thor, you know, things like travelling with Thor, you know, requirements, you know, tips that we have and things. Now, what I will say is having a dog in a camper van is amazing. I wouldn't have it any other way. So it's absolutely awesome. I was going to say possum. Is that a bit too cheesy? Ugh. I went there. Sorry guys. Right, let's get on with this video and the top 10 tips about having a dog with a camper van. So guys, the first tip, now this is the most important tip that I can give you about travelling with your beloved pet pooch if you're going to your campsite or you're going for a day out or you're going anywhere in your camper van. But it also applies to obviously if you're travelling in your car. It goes without saying that travelling with your dog, the safety is the most important part. Now, what I mean by that is you can't just put your dog in the car and just like leave him to like run about and, you know, or put him in the back of the van and run about. Your dog has got to be suitably restrained. Now, there's different ways to do that. Now, we used to travel with Thor in the back of our van and we used to put him in his cage, but he kind of like after a year or so of traveling, began to like really dislike it, and we had our cage sort of like, you know, strapped to like the seat and everything. It was all strapped down and everything. We put Thor in it, so obviously, you know, he couldn't like run around in the van and everything, but he kind of like started getting stressed out after about a year. I don't know why. He just got to the stage where he kind of like grew out of like traveling in his cage. So what we had to do is we had to like work it out where that we could like, you know, strap him down in the back of the van while we're traveling and stuff. And what we do is we've got like a proper harness that actually clips into the seat belt, and, you know, and then that attaches to his harness, and, you know, then he's restrained in the back of the van. He still has like a little bit of movement, but he can't like get into the front part of the van or anything, but he's got enough room to be able to move about and, you know, and lie on his bed comfortably if he wants to. So, but what you need to do is, if you're going to be traveling with your dog, you need to find, you know, what's going to be the most comfortablest way for your pet to travel. And like I said, it is the law. You do have to have your dog restrained. Now, I would say there's an article, I'm not exactly sure what it's called. It's something like Article 57. I'll see if I can find the details and put the details here for you. You know, and that gives like the law about, you know, how to restrain your dog and like the legal requirements of traveling with your dog in your car. Now, what I will say is, if you're looking to travel abroad, like especially in the into Europe and so on, we did a trip last year and we took Thor with us in Europe. Now, the laws are different in Europe, so you do need to like check. For example, if you travel with your dog like up front and stuff, even if like they're harnessed in and so on, in some countries it's illegal, you know, and it's quite a big fine. So, you know, in some countries you're not allowed to travel with your dog in the front of your vehicle. So there is a lot of homework for you guys to do. So if if you've got a dog, thinking about getting a dog, you're going into the Vanlife scenery, seeing anything like that, and you're taking your pet pooch with you, traveling with your dog, the safety of your dog and yourselves, and that obviously leads on to other people, is the most important thing. So do your homework and just know that you can't just put your dog in the back of the van and just let them run around. They have to be suitably restrained and everything. So look into it. Right guys, for tip number 2, I'm gonna go and get Thor and I'm gonna go in the back garden. Guys, the second tip about campervanning with your beloved pet pooch, you need to have your dog microchipped. Now, in the UK, it's a legal requirement that you actually have your dog microchipped. Now, that's obviously a good thing, because if you ever lose your dog for whatever reason, you know, if somebody is kind enough to sort of like get the vet involved, things like that, you can actually get your dog like, you know, scanned and everything. But a little tip that I've got, now we did this when we went to Europe last year. We actually bought some like little plastic keychain things. I put a picture here what I mean. And then every time that we went to a different destination, we actually wrote on a piece of paper, like the insert that goes inside it, we actually wrote down what hotel and things we were staying at. So just on the off chance that Thor did get away from us, at least somebody could see that, you know, in that area, that's where we are. And of course, I had my phone number on there. Now the other thing is as well, it goes without saying, make sure your dog has got an ID tag on with clear contact details for anybody to, you know, get hold of you if they were to obviously see your dog wandering the streets or anything. Now what I will say is, if you're travelling in the UK, obviously the phone number, if you put a mobile, it's going to be like 07 when it starts. Just remember, in Europe you need to put +44 as well. The third tip that I will give you guys about travelling with your pet pooch in your camper van is, it goes without saying, you know, you could be in your van for a long period of time when you're travelling. Now, if you're travelling, your pet pooch, he's going to need a break, you know, he's going to need a rest, you know, there's not a lot of room to move about in the back of the vans, especially, you know, if your dog's going to be travelling in a cage and things, you know, and obviously he's going to be harnessed in and so on. But yeah, just to like minimise the stress levels of your dog, it's a good idea to, you know, when you can, when it's safe to do so, you know, pull over, like country roads, things like that, let your dog just have a quick, you know, stretch of his legs and everything, get some fresh air and so on. And obviously if you're on the motorway travelling for a long time, get into the service stations and let your dog have a good walkabout. Tip number 4 for going to a campsite in your camper van with your beloved pet pooch: don't forget your essentials for your dog. Now, what do I mean by essentials? Well, you need a collar or a harness, your dog's lead, food bowls, you know, dog's treats, the right amount of dog food that is needed for obviously the time that you're away and everything. You know, you need your dog's bed, because obviously, you know, your dog wants to have his own like home comforts and so on. And most importantly, apart from all of that, don't forget the poo bags as well. Tip number 5, guys. Now, it goes without saying, you know, and I shouldn't really have to say this, but you know, it is really important. Never ever, under any circumstance, when it's a really hot day, ever leave your dog inside the van if you don't have any air conditioning units or anything. Never ever leave your dog inside a hot van. Obviously it's the same with the car as well, but I mean, obviously there's going to be times where you might need to like go out and go to the shops and things, but I'm sorry, it's this simple. You just don't leave your dog in the van unattended like that. It's just not something that you do. I mean, today it's like really hot weather, you know, you just don't do it. It's dangerous for your dog. So just it's that simple. You do not leave your dog unattended inside a van unless obviously you've got air conditioning facilities and things like that. We don't have anything like that, so we would never leave Thor in the van unattended at any time when the heat is obviously very extreme. Now, we do have fans in the van and so on, and when we're traveling stuff, we'd have the air conditioning on and things, you know, and we have like fans like blowing on them and things, you know, if it's warm. But like I said, you just don't do it. Just don't leave them unattended in the van in the blazing heat. Now, what I will say on that as well, when you park up and things like that on campsites, probably a good idea if you've got your dog with you, try and park like, you know, out of like direct sunlight and things. That'll obviously minimise the heat in the van also. But on the complete opposite end of that, also applies for the cold as well, because believe it or not, guys, don't forget your dogs, they do get cold as well. So same applies, but the other way around. Don't leave your dogs unattended in your van in extreme cold. And just to add on to that as well, even when you're on the campsite, you know, and it's warm, and obviously you're not leaving your dog in the van, always leave nice, fresh, cold water always available for your dog all the time. Tip number 6, guys. Be considerate to other people on campsites. Now, what do I mean by that? If you want a dog, don't forget, not everyone is dog friendly. So don't think that you can just like pull up next to somebody, let your dog out, and then that's it, your dog's barking away, jumping about and everything, because that might disturb someone else's peace. So be considerate of other people. Now, if you go to a campsite and you've got a choice of like where you're parking and so on, you know, be sort of like nice, you know, even like if you're parking next to somebody, you know, just say to them, you've got a dog, is it going to cause a problem and so on. Now, there is going to be times that when you're parking up, you're not going to have a choice where you park and so on, you know, but obviously be sort of like, be aware of like who is next to you and everything. Now, when we get to campsites, Thor just wants to play, bark, jump around, you know, and basically just have fun, because that's what he's there for. That's what we're all there for. But just do be considerate of other people around you. Tip number 7, guys. Always take a first aid kit with you when you're traveling with your dog. Now, we have mentioned this in videos before, and we've mentioned it like a lot of times. You need a basic first aid kit, because if you're walking about outside and so on, and let's say your dog gets like a little splinter or something in his paw, if you don't have something as simple as a pair of tweezers or something just to pull that out, well, you know, your weekend could potentially be ruined if no one else around you, you know, has got anything to help you with. The other thing that you should be having in your first aid kit, things like bandages, maybe some cleaning solution, you know, a lot of things, no different to obviously having a first aid kit for yourselves. Don't forget to take a tick remover. Again, you don't want to be like just yanking ticks off your dog and stuff. You need to like hook the teeth out, if you like, and so on. Another little tip that I've got for you is take a pair of old socks with you. Now, if you're out and about with your dog and your dog gets a cut on his paw, you can put the old sock over it, put some like, you know, like tape, first aid tape around the top of the sock and everything. And at least that way, you know, as a temporary measure, having an old sock over your dog's paw, it's a good way of temporary dealing with, obviously, if your dog's paw is bleeding. But then obviously you need your first aid kit then to obviously deal with the issue. So 100% get a first aid kit for your dog. Tip number 8, guys. If you are on a campsite with your dog, try and keep your dog in the same routine as what you would do at home. What do I mean by that? If you take your dog for like 2 or 3 walks a day, try and keep the same times. Now obviously it's not always going to be possible, but try and keep like the same times of when you take your dogs for a walk. You know, to keep it regular, because your dog loves being in a routine, feels safe, feels happy. Try and feed them at the same time, you know, and just by keeping the dog in the same routine, when you're on a campsite, it will help your dog to get more settled and everything, because not all dogs are going to be happy that you've took them out of the routine and then all of a sudden you're on a campsite with other people around and things like that. So, you know, just to try and sort of like get rid of a little bit of the stress. Now obviously it's not the same for all dogs. I mean, it doesn't matter where we are with Thor, he just like loves life, adventure, everything, no matter where we are. But we still try and keep him in the same routine. We feed him at the same times, we take him for walks at the same time. It just helps the dog to keep in the same routine, which is going to be beneficial for your pet pooch. Tip number 9, guys. This is a really important one, and this is something that you need to think about if you're thinking about getting into the van life scenery, you know, in the van life lifestyle. You can't force your dog to enjoy van life. Now, obviously what I mean by that is, if your dog doesn't like travelling, doesn't like being around other dogs, doesn't like being on campsites, doesn't like being around strangers and other people and things like that, doesn't settle well, you know, like at night time in the van and things. Listen, if your dog is basically stressed by any element of the camper van lifestyle, you can't force your dog to enjoy that lifestyle. So that is something that you really, really need to consider. Now, if you've got a dog and you always travel with them, then perfect, you know, they might adapt to the van lifestyle and, you know, and scenery and everything, no problems. With Thor, we've had the camper van for what, 3 years? Thor's 6 now, but we've always travelled with him since day one. So being in the car, being in the van, things like that, he loves it. And like I said, he's a type of dog, he just loves being around people, everyone's his best mate, you know, he loves like everything, you know, about the camper van lifestyle, being out and about and everything. But like I said, not all dogs are going to be like that, but you can't force that lifestyle onto your dog. If your dog doesn't like it, you can't be shouting and snapping if your dog doesn't settle, it doesn't like travelling, things like that. So that's something that you need to consider. If you've got a dog and you're thinking about getting into van life, you need to maybe like do a little bit of testing, take your dog travelling and things, and, you know, see if your dog settles into it well. And, you know, if you do have a camper van and you're thinking about getting a dog, well, you need to look into it and see obviously what dog you're getting and everything. And if it's a puppy and things, you know, it's not guaranteed that it's going to enjoy that lifestyle. So it's definitely something you need to consider. Tip 10, guys, the last tip, and for us, the most important one. have fun, guys. When you're out and about in your camper van and you've got your pet pooch with you, have fun, enjoy it, and just remember, it's your dog's holiday too. Don't be sort of like, you know, going somewhere and thinking it's all about you. If you're taking your dog with you, it's your dog's holiday too. And you know what, just have fun. Go down like tracks, you know, take your dog to the beach, take your dog, you know, in the country and everything. Just absolutely just enjoy it, love it. For us, campervan lifestyle, van life, without Thor, it doesn't exist. He's like the main part of it, and we absolutely love taking him places, traveling with him and everything. We absolutely love it. But yeah, goes without saying, have to have fun, don't we, Thor? Eh? It's all about fun, isn't it? There we go, there we go. He absolutely loves it, and we love van life, and we love sharing it with our best mate, don't we, Thor? So, goes without saying, have fun. Right guys, I hope today's video has been informative for a lot of you people. A lot of everything that I've said, if you've already got a dog or you're thinking about getting a dog, it's common sense really, and I know that you already know that, but sharing like our experience and things and sort of like giving you guys some tips might be helpful, you know, if you're thinking about, you know, like getting a dog, or, you know, if you can relate to like some of the things we've said, taking your dog with you, you know, on your van life adventures. Now, if there's anything that I've not mentioned in there, which obviously there's going to be hundreds and hundreds of tips that you guys can give about traveling with your dog and so on, put it in the comments below so that anybody else that's reading it, you know, they can get like some advice and some tips off you guys as well. And you guys can get involved as well, you know, putting like your experiences and things like that in the comments below. So, but guys, really hope that today's video has been informative. If it has, press that like button. Now, if you're new to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button. We're really on the mission to get to 5,000 subscribers. Now, in the next couple of weeks, we've got a lot of things coming up. We've just had a delivery today, so the next video that we do, we're going to be showing you what that is. Intriguing, and we're going somewhere to get some expert advice about it as well, so keep an eye out for that video coming. If you've not subscribed already, and that sounds something that you're interested in, press that subscribe button. Done it? Done. Excellent, there you go. Really appreciate it. And it goes without saying, every single one of our subscribers that we've already got, thank you very much, we really appreciate it. So guys, hope you've enjoyed today's video. Until the next one, bye for now.